After a fantastic win midweek against Sheffield United, the big question is whether Boro can back it up and be the first team to beat Norwich at Carrow Road this season. What is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Project Boro preview show, where we, of course, preview every single Boro League game and Cup game as well, if and when they come round. Today we're going to be looking ahead to our trip on Sunday down to Carrow Road against the Canaries. That is, of course, Norwich City. And they've started to come good under their new manager, Johannes Hoff. Thorup. Easy for me to say. They started the season a little bit slowly, which you'd sort of understand with a brand new manager. They only won one of their opening 5 league games under him, but since then they've gone unbeaten in their last 6. And although, they've won 3 of them and they are drawing a few games as well, what they're doing is they're picking up points consistently at the moment are Norwich, and they currently sit 7th in the Championship, just above Boro. And one thing you will notice is they're not a team that's lost very much this season. Losing only twice is up there with the top teams in the league, but what's letting them down is their number of draws. They've drew pretty much just under half of their games so far this season, but despite their record being, a little bit up, a little bit down at times, as I said at the top of the show, they're very good at Carrow Road. They are unbeaten at home. Again, there's a few draws in there. They've only won 2 of their opening 5 home league games, drawing the other 3, but the point is they are absolutely good in terms of how they're unbeaten at home so far. So Boro are going to have to do something that no other team has done in all competitions this season, and that's go to Carrow Road and win. Statistically then, Norwich are a very, very similar team to Boro, I'd say, in terms of how they set up, how they like to play football. But what Norwich do have over Boro big time is the goals that they've scored. They're among the top goal scorers in the Championship this season with 19 goals. I believe that's second only to Leeds, who've got 19 goals as well, and Sunderland, who top the goal scoring charts with 21 at the moment. And they're not a bad defensive team either. They're not the best. They sit 11th in the league for goals conceded, which is smack bang in the middle. So they're not one of the best defensive teams, but by no means are they a bad defensive side either. And very much like Boro, they're extremely creative. They're 4th in the league for XG. Boro still sit top of that by some distance, and Norwich are also 2nd in the league for the big chances and big chances missed. So they do create an absolute ton. They're scoring quite a bit as well, but they're also missing quite a bit. So given the fact they've already scored 19 goals in the league, there's an argument they could actually have even more than that, which is a concern for any team going up against Norwich. They did, of course, put 4 past Hull in their last home game, so Boro's defence is going to have to be extremely resolute, you feel, to keep anything out the back of our net down at Carrow Road on Sunday. And as I mentioned, there are quite a few similarities to how Norwich play, like Boro. They're one of the higher possession-based teams in the league. They're right up there with Boro in terms of accurate passes, and they don't play many long balls or crosses, so they like to keep the ball down and they like to play. One interesting stat I also picked out as well, they're not one of the best or worst defensive teams in the league, but they only have 2 clean sheets this season. So I don't know if they're maybe being a little bit unlucky in front of goal, maybe. I do recall at the start of the season there was a few individual defensive errors in there at times, because their XG against is 15th. So they're one of the best teams as well in terms of limiting the opposition to chances. They're sort of not mid-tier, they're a little bit higher than that, but they've only got 2 clean sheets this season. So that might encourage Boro that we will score something down there at Carrow Road. We might get a goal, but it's can we outscore them and get the victory? That's the big question. So yeah, a very good team all round, really. They really have picked up under their new manager. They're very good at scoring goals. They create a lot of chances, but I do think Boro will get their opportunities, and I feel like we're going to have to be very strong defensively and clinical in and around their box if we are going to win the game. As for their starting 11, it's quite interesting because according to FootMob, in their last game, which I believe was the 2-2 draw at Preston, they played a 4-3-3 according to FootMob. I don't know if that's true or not, but looking at their games previous to that, they played a 4-2-3-1, and they have a pretty consistent back five, which unless there's an injury or a suspension I don't know about, I'm pretty certain they'll play long in goal. The back four usually is Doyle at right back with Cordoba and Shane Duffy in the middle with Fisher on the left-hand side. Kenny McLean, you would think, would normally be paired up with Nunez, who is injured. He's probably the biggest injury they have, or one of the biggest injuries they have at the moment. A brilliant player in midfield who certainly will be missed by them. But regardless of how Norwich set up, it's all about two players. It's all about two players, and there's an argument they could be the most dangerous attacking duo in the whole of the Championship at this moment in time, and that is Borga Sainz and Josh Sargent. Now, Borga Sainz is currently the top goal scorer in the Championship with 8 goals. He's had an outstanding start to the season. He is definitely the man to keep an eye on, but if you take your eye off him, you've also got to keep an eye on Josh Sargent because he is right up there too. He is second in the Championship for assists with 5, and they have the biggest goal combinations between two players in the league. They have 19 goal contributions between them, which is the top 2 in the league. They are involved in everything good that Norwich do. So I guess on one hand, you could say, well, if we stop Sargent and Sainz, we stop Norwich. Now, I think that's a very naive thing to say, but there is no doubt that everything good that they do going forward comes through the pair of them. So if you stop them, I think we'll give ourselves a much, much better chance of getting a result. However, if we allow them to do their thing, then we're going to be in trouble. It's as simple as that. And not only do they have the most goal contributions together, they're both in the top 3. And this is in the entire league, by the way. They're in the top 3 for XG. The pair of them are right up there in terms of the quality of chances they've both had this season. They're a ridiculous, ridiculous pair. So that's what we need to look out for. In terms of who we can target, as I say, Norwich aren't the worst defensive team in the league, but I just always feel like looking at Norwich's back line, Boro might have a bit of joy. I've never really been convinced by Shane Duffy, and Cordoba I've seen has got an error in him too. So I'm hoping Boro can maybe give their centre-backs a bit of a torrid time, but, further forward, Norwich are very, very good. So we'll see how that battle goes for Boro, and the lineup I'm predicting. It's actually pretty straightforward, apart from up top. Now, I think George Edmondson's probably played himself into that starting position. I know I did say last time out I'd rather have Matt Clark in there, but I think Edmondson and his performances at this point absolutely warrant a start. So I'd actually probably keep him alongside Rav van den Berg. The back 5, the back 7 stays as it has done for the majority of the season, and I think the 3 players in front do as well. McGree has to start. We all know how important he is. Azaz proved at the weekend what he can do creatively, setting up that Elath for that chance, and Ben Doak, again, another nailed name on the team sheet. The big question is up front, because what do you do? Because Elath has got himself up and running, do you bring him straight back in? Or do you keep him in the role that he's in right now and keep him that little bit more hungry? Because is there an argument to say that it would be harsh dropping Tommy Conway after only one start? It will make him seem like a bit of a placeholder for Lath, really. Now Lath scored, you're out the team again. So I'm very intrigued to see how Carrick manages that, because you don't want to upset Conway by giving him a chance and then dropping him again. But equally, Lath is the sort of striker who I think's a little bit streaky. And once he gets one, he could very well get 2, 3, 4, 5 on the bounce. So that's going to be interesting to see how Michael Carrick manages that situation, because Lath is our main forward. He has got himself back on the score sheet now. So do you go, right, we're hoping he's back to where he should be, put him back in the starting 11, or do you bench him again and give him the same sort of dilemma and say, you're coming on with 20 minutes to go, try and do what you did against Sheffield United and score the winner again? So I've gone with Lath in my lineup just for that reason, because he is streaky, and I feel like if we create enough chances for him, there's more of a chance he'll put one away now, but equally, there is a degree that it would be harsh on Tommy Conway, who did absolutely nothing wrong against Sheffield United, and could be harsh to drop him. So I'd be intrigued if any Boro fans in the comments would start Conway or keep things as they were, and maybe think, well, that impact sub role might just suit Lath for the coming weeks, as and when he's starting to come back into the team. We'll certainly see how that works out. As for head-to-heads, Boro have actually had the advantage over Norwich in recent times, but that most definitely wasn't always the case. In the last couple of meetings, Boro have beat Norwich near enough every single time. Over the last sort of 15 years, Norwich have won 7 to Boro's 6 with 2 draws, so you could say right now they're fairly equal, but Boro's recent record is very, very good. We've won 4 of our last 5 games against Norwich, each of the last 4 with victories, both home and away. Norwich's last win came at the Riverside in November 2020, and that was at the end of a very, very dominant run for Norwich. They'd actually beaten us 6 times in a row, dating back to the playoff final, with the majority of them wins being narrowly by 1-0. But before this recent really good spell for Boro, we had no luck against Norwich. In fact, we lost the 6 previous games all to 0. We didn't even score against them. So the last 5, all good for Boro. Unbeaten, beat Norwich 4-5 at a scoreline of 12-4 on aggregate. Prior to that, though, we couldn't even score against these guys, never mind get a point against them. So who knows? Is the current trend going to continue? Are Boro going to keep getting one up over Norwich, or are they going to revert back to the team they used to be not too long ago, where they just absolutely dominated this fixture? I don't know. I'm hoping that Boro will be able to keep what's been a good run going against the Canaries. So, my prediction for this one. Now, I think this is a game that is just screaming goals, to be honest. As I say, they're a very good attacking team. They're very creative. They play the ball down on the ground, which might suit Boro. You know, we've seen Boro do well against teams that keep the ball and, you know, try and have a go at Boro. So, I'm hoping we will be able to take advantage of that and exploit any space that maybe Norwich leave. But we're going to have to be very, very good defensively. We're going to have to ensure Sainz and Sargent are not given the space to do the damage they've done thus far this season, and we're going to have to certainly take our chances, which I do feel like we will get, and I feel like, as I say, goals in this game. But let's not forget, Norwich are unbeaten at home this season, and Boro, well, we'll see, because as I said when I reviewed the Sheffield United game, it was a great result, but it's irrelevant if Boro don't back it up with a result against Norwich. And a draw would be fine. A win would be absolutely out of this world, as long as we just don't lose this game. For me, that's so important. You know, not too long ago, we beat West Brom, and you're thinking, wow, we're on a roll, here we go. And then we managed to completely throw away what should have been a win at Watford, which then spiralled into a defeat against Bristol City, and we're back to square one again. So I'm not getting too excited until I see Boro consistently put a run of games together. It's going to be very, very difficult to do so against Norwich, so I'm just hoping we can keep a degree of momentum going, but I'm not quite confident enough to back us to win this game. But Norwich have drawn a lot this season. I think there'll be another draw here, so my prediction is Norwich 2, Boro 2, and we take a point from Carrow Road, which, you know, isn't perfect, but it's certainly a point I would happily take. So let me know your thoughts and predictions on this game, whether you're a Boro fan or a Norwich fan, in the comments, your predicted lineup for either side. If there's anything I missed from a Norwich point of view and you're a Norwich fan, do let me know in the comment section below. And any Boro fans, let me know your hopes and expectations for this fixture as well. It's a great opportunity for both sides to possibly get themselves into the top 6. So as always, like the video if you've enjoyed it, subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss when a video drops here on the channel. We review and preview every single Boro game, of course. Leave me a comment in the section below, and if you're listening on the podcast providers, then do give me a like, a rating and a follow over there. And until next time, I'll be back maybe Sunday evening, possibly, hopefully, to review whatever happens down at Carrow Road. Fingers crossed for a positive result. But until then, enjoy your weekend, guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.